From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. And we're going to get down to basics today. The recurring, underlying theme of this podcast is money and power. We just absolutely have to get to a place in this country and in this world where the money and power are distributed laterally rather than hierarchically. We can't have haves and have-nots anymore. Not just for the old-fashioned reasons, which were good enough in and of themselves, just because it's right, because it's fair, because it's moral, that we should all benefit from our work, that just because you're born on this planet, you deserve to have basic human rights. You don't have to earn basic human rights. The fact that you were born is enough. And the case has been made, and I think it's a pretty strong case, that human rights include safe housing, food, education, health, and I take it to the next level, and so does the rest of the world. If you look at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, drafted by the United Nations now many years ago, nothing real controversial about it. I take it to the next level, meaning you can't guarantee someone a happy life. I won't go that far. But you can guarantee access to the arts, culture, an ability to reach your own potential. All of these things are basic human rights. I often talk about the modern-day Republican Party being irredeemable, not qualifying as a legitimate political party, because they don't share this idea at all. In fact, they're diametrically opposed. Their fundamental cornerstone belief is that no one deserves anything, that whatever you get in this life, forget about the arts and culture, right down to the very basics, nutrition, clean air, clean water, a roof over your head. No one deserves that unless they earn it. You have to quote-unquote earn your living. Well, this isn't about the Republicans today. This is about the basics. I only bring them up because, by way of filling out this premise here, in order to get to a place where basic human rights are established and provided, we have to be political. I'm going to start with my bottom line. I was just having a conversation with friends the other day. It's a conversation I find myself often engaged in, whether or not there's someone else there or not. It's a conversation I have with myself. All right, we know what we want. How do we get there? And in a real sort of, if the conversation gets a little more esoteric, how do you stay happy? How do you be the happy warrior? How do you not get burned out? How do you not feel helpless? What do we do after all? Even if we have all the right ideas, if we agree on all of this, what do you do every day when you get up? Well, you gotta drive that car and spew out your emissions to get to your job, which you have to pay you have to do all these things. So what do we do? Well, I've come to one conclusion. It's got to be politics. I know you don't like to hear that. I know many of us want to believe that finding peace in our own soul and living our best life is the only way to go. You just have to be happy with yourself. You have to be spiritually fulfilled. You have to be kind to your neighbors. Those are all good things. There's nothing wrong with those things. But if that's all you do, we're all just going to die. It may have been okay in years gone by, where you could have these kinds of arguments. Well, it's not all politics. We should just stop talking politics. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was a time that was true. When it was just about, who had the bigger ox, and then who had the bigger car, who had the nice house and who had the small house. No, now the gap between the haves and have-nots is so incredibly wide. So that's one thing. But really, the main thing is we now have existential crises. And I don't mean existential in the philosophical sense. I mean in a very literal sense. Whether we exist or not as a species, are we going to live or are we going to die? Because we have two issues we're currently dealing with, or more accurately not dealing with, that are just going to do us in. Climate change and the pandemic. You know this isn't the last pandemic. We're having a tough enough time with this one. If we can't get this one right, what are we going to do about the next one? And the next one after that? So I've come to the conclusion, after considerable thought, that our own personal work in our personal lives, while still important for our own happiness, yes, that's all it's good for. We can be happy until the last tree burns. I suppose you could find a way to do that. You can be happy until the last virus kills the last person. If you can find a way to do that, all right. But if you have any sense of responsibility at all, if you have just an ounce of empathy for anyone other than yourself, then to me, there's only one answer. And it is political. It's politics. We have to think that way. We have to eliminate the hierarchy of power and money, which includes the patriarchy. It includes racism, absolutely. White supremacy, absolutely. But doing the inner work, so to speak, that ain't enough. It's action. It's politics. We have reached a point of no return, and it's our only way out. We're deep in the bottom of a well, and we've got the lumber to build a ladder. And that ladder is politics, and that lumber is action. Do the personal work, fine. But it's not going to save us. So, if I say the answer is politics, I must have an idea of what kind of politics. Yeah, again, I have no question left in my mind. I don't know if you're still questioning these things, but I have no questions left. I'm feeling absolutely certain about this. We have to go left and then left again. We have to go full-blown socialist. We have to give power to the workers. We have to the greatest extent possible, eliminate money from every equation. Now, as I've said many times before, if I could do it, I would eliminate money entirely as a concept. I would banish it from the earth. I understand that that's not an easy thing to do. I also understand that moving in that direction is not that difficult to understand. You go left, you go left, you go left again. A complete lateral power structure where each person has equal wealth and power as the person next to them. Where companies, places of business are owned and operated by the workers themselves, so full-blown socialism, no private property, personal property, yes. I don't want to go into the whole definition of socialism with you. Ask 100 different people, you get 100 different definitions. So let me just make it very simple. What I'm talking about is no private property, which means no capital. Personal property, sure. The hat you put on your head, the shoes you put on your feet, they belong to you. Nobody should be able to just take them away from you. Personal property is fine. But once your property represents capital, represents means of production, very basic ideas here that, that I'm not inventing, okay? That has to be eliminated. So we have to go full-blown socialist. We have to have a universal basic income that provides for all your necessary goods and services. Human rights, remember, food, clothing, shelter, health, education, access to arts and culture, the time for leisure, the time for self-improvement, for reaching your potential. All of these are human rights, and everyone has them equally. And if the only answer is politics, then the politics have to be lefty. They have to be socialist. They have to be social anarchism. Again, I don't want to get into words and terms that are going to confuse everybody. But I think I've made myself pretty clear, right? A lateral power structure where no one person or one entity has power over another person or entity. It's unnecessary. It's artificial. It's been maintained over time and throughout history because the people with the power and the money have found a way to maintain it and to build on it. We can't wish it away. We can't pray it away. We can't love it away. I love love as much as anybody. You can't love away power. You got to take it. I am a strong advocate for nonviolent solutions. I don't believe in raising up arms against anybody. Not a solution. It's never a solution. So politics is all that's left. And it has to be lefty. It has to be socialist. It has to be social anarchism. And if you can convince me otherwise, please tell me. Please tell me where I'm wrong. I get a lot of response in social media of people just calling me ridiculous or juvenile, or they just say I'm wrong or ridiculous. They don't tell me why. They don't give me a counter argument when I badmouth capitalism, when I badmouth money, when I badmouth the hierarchy. I got this one guy in particular. I don't know why, but I keep showing up in his feed, and he's getting really frustrated. Why does this keep showing up in my feed? This is ridiculous. This guy's crazy. And sometimes he'll respond and tell me that I'm just stupid or evil. Never once has he given me a counter argument. Never once has he told me why I'm wrong. I'm begging somebody to tell me why I'm wrong. Love to have the argument. Tell me. Let's look at a couple of specifics here. Let's roll through some topics. I'm not sure how many we can get through on this episode. All right, let's start right at the top. Abortion. How would a lefty system deal with the abortion issue? Well, this is almost embarrassing. It's so obvious. All I got to do is look at the polls. By a great majority, 70, 80, 90% of Americans believe in access to abortion. They believe in the right of women to make their own healthcare decisions and to make their own family decisions. It's not a debate. It's only a debate because one party, the aforementioned Republican Party, illegitimate, fascist, white supremacist, in league with the one percenters who hold all the money. That's the only reason abortion is an issue, because that illegitimate party uses it as an issue. Would it go away entirely as a wedge issue, as a debate, even in a world that I envision? No, because I'm not going to hammer down on religion. No right-thinking lefty would ever dream of suppressing religion. We might tax the churches. In fact, we definitely would tax the churches, but that's not suppressing religion. Any self-respecting lefty believes in the freedom of religion. Absolutely. Also the freedom from religion, and also the idea that, again, at the risk of sounding way too obvious, that someone's religion should somehow tell other people how to live, not just their own adherents, not just their own selves, families. Yeah, make your personal decisions. You and your community of similar believers, do whatever you want, as long as it's not against the law, and as long as you're not telling other people how to do it. I mean, again, I'm sounding so painfully obvious right now, it's embarrassing. So, if we go left, and left again, and have the kind of government we need, and by government, of course, I mean we the people. I'm a small d Democrat all the way. Abortion wouldn't be an issue. That fight would just be over. The climate crisis. Again, it's just so painfully obvious. If we take money and profit out of the equation, the climate crisis is solved tomorrow. Nobody would work for or advocate for an industry that's destroying the planet. Because remember now, you've got all your, in the world I'm talking about, you have your human rights guaranteed. So you don't have to drive to that job in your CO2 emitting car. You don't have to work for a company that makes single-use plastic. I mean, right now, literally millions upon millions of people are faced with a decision every day. Well, do I contribute to the problem of climate crisis by way of my car and by way of my job? Or do I starve and let my children starve? You might say, well, just get another job. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, everybody can do that. Like everybody within the sound of my voice can just quit their job tomorrow and find a job that completely aligns with their standards. They can find a job that in no way contributes to climate crisis. The way climate crisis is covered or not covered in the media, you wouldn't even recognize it. Because if you take money and profit out of the media landscape, all of a sudden, the most important story goes right to the top. Because the only reason that journalist is there at their job is to do what's right. They don't have to worry about advertisers or sponsors. They don't have to worry about getting X amount of clicks so it triggers the revenue stream. No, everyone's at their job because they want to do it. Remember, all human needs are met. You only work at something that fulfills you and that helps others. Why else would you do it? I suppose there would still be a few people who do it for their own ego. All right. I can't imagine that's going to be the majority or even a measurable minority. There'll be little fringes here and there, completely harmless. The pandemic. What is that about if not about money? Pharmaceuticals are making billions on these vaccines. Rich nations get all the vaccines and poor nations get none. The poorer nations of the world have 1% of vaccine distribution right now as I speak. I'm not sure when you're listening to this, but as I speak, that's the ratio. Rich nations have all the vaccines they can use, and poor countries literally have none. It's all about money. It's all about power. It's all about politics. You want to have your little charity where you stand on the corner and hand out free food? That's great. You want to have a little spiritual meeting where you get together with like-minded people and you bang on a drum? That's great. Nothing wrong with it. It's great. Ain't going to save us. I'm telling you, we're in a whole new situation right now. These are true existential crises, in the very literal sense of that word. Crime. What more obvious issue is there than crime? What more obvious solution to crime is there than meeting everyone's basic human rights? You think somebody with a proper education, with proper nutrition, food, housing, the opportunity to do whatever kind of work they wanted that fulfilled them and they thought helped others, you have all your basic human rights met, including access to art, culture, education, and fulfillment? How many criminals do you think we're going to have? I mean, come on. This is not complicated. Yeah, you might have a few wackos running around. You might have a fringe element. They'll still find some reason to bang you over the head and take your watch. I don't know. But compared to the rampant crime we have now, and also the crime that's really not crime, the harassment of minority communities, the carceral state, driven by two things primarily. It's driven by profit primarily, and also by the aforementioned Republican Party, who use it as a campaign issue. It's one of their favorites. They pull out crime, they pull out immigration, they pull out abortion. They try to scare you with socialism, which is what I'm talking about, and they try to scare you with that, but no one's ever given me a good reason to change my mind. Nobody makes an argument. They just lie about it. You know, we had the Orange Menace and his big lie following the 2020 election. We've had a big lie going on forever from the right wing. And the big lie is to fear socialism. There's nothing to fear. There's no slippery slope to authoritarian communism. There's no Mao Zedong in our future. Nobody wants that. I don't want it. No self-respecting lefty wants authoritarian power. In fact, it's exactly what we don't want. And I don't want to put myself out front as though I'm speaking for everybody. Let me just speak for myself. That's the last thing I want. It's exactly the opposite of what I want. We have authoritarian power now. You know that thing where you can only see in others what you already embody in yourself? The conservatives, the right-wingers, the Republicans, the one-percenters, the white supremacists, this whole alliance, they have power. They want to maintain power. So when I fight against that, they automatically assume, because this is all they know inside themselves, they automatically assume that I want power, that I want authoritarian power from the left. Well, that's their mistake. I don't want that, as I've said a couple times, and this has to be made clear. I want lateral power. I want equal power. No one person, no one entity has power over another person or entity. That's where I pull out the word anarchism, which most people don't understand, so let's not go there. But that's really all social anarchism means, that the hierarchy is disassembled. The hierarchy no longer exists. I don't want to keep the hierarchy and just put myself on top. It's a bad system. It's an immoral system. I don't believe in it. And also, it doesn't work. It's just asking for more trouble. If I put myself on top of this hierarchical system, I mean, everybody below me is my enemy. Everybody below me wants to topple me. Why would I want that? I don't want power. What else? Well, a large issue, but again, just sort of horribly obvious when people talk about the economy, which means simply, again, a simple definition here. We need definitions of words we use. It's just basically how we produce and distribute goods and services, how we work with each other to get what we need. I've said many times, basic human rights, everybody has the right to them: food, clothing, shelter, education, health. Well, right now, that's all embedded in an economy. We still need those things. So if they're just handed out, how will we have them? There again, that's coming from a position of an embodied idea that some people just can't lose. Well, you have to have money. We have to exchange money. No, why? No, we don't. Well, sources are scarce. No, they're not. No, they're not. If I could wave a magic wand and eliminate the need for money and profit right now on the spot, we'd still have the same resources in the world. We'd still have the same amount of people able to do work, provide services. We'd still have the same number of people who need those goods and services. The idea that this sort of intermediary, this middleman of money and profit, is the only way to make the wheel turn is a complete and utter fiction. Guns and all the problems they create, all the gun violence, all the deaths, especially here in America. Kind of similar to the abortion issue. The illegitimate right-wing, white supremacist, fascist Republican Party uses guns as a campaign issue. And of course, campaigns are now 365 days a year. 4 years out of every election cycle. It's campaign time all the time. It never ends. So guns are right in the middle of that as an issue. And then pile on top of that the gun lobby, the industry, the whole NRA, and all of the funny money that, flows in and out of that. Labor issues. There again, solved. Solved. We don't have to worry about unions. Everything's a union. Every worker, literally every worker, is a de facto union member when the power structure is lateral. And how do we make a lateral power structure? It's by going politically left and then left again and then left again. It's not a hierarchy of labor bosses. No, it's small d democracy permeating every aspect of life. If the workers and the community where they work own the plant, the distribution center, the retail stores, whatever business you want to imagine, If the workers and the community control those places of business, well, name a labor problem that we have today, and it's gone. It's just gone. Now, I'm not talking about a utopia. I'm talking about a real possibility here. But we have to go left. It's all about politics. Do what you need to do to make yourself happy. If that's praying, if that's singing, if that's getting together with your friends and having a poker night, all of these are good things. They're wonderful. All of these are good things. But only politics is going to get us where we need to go. And only lefty politics. No room for the right wing. No room for centrists. Our time is way too short. Even issues like misogyny, racism, homophobia. You might think those are kind of personal. They don't really have anything to do with money. Almost nothing to do with politics. It's kind of it's a religious thing. It's a personal feeling. We're going to still have those problems. No, we won't. Because, and I'll go back to this theme, back to guns, abortion. They're used as wedge issues for a conservative, right-wing, Republican, fascist, white supremacist party, homophobic party, anti-woman party. They don't really care about these issues. They don't care about them. They use them. They use the issues in their forever campaigns. One more time. If you're feeling a little bit helpless, and I don't like politics, okay? You got to get over that. It's all about politics, really. It's the only thing that's going to get us to the solutions we need to find. You have to vote in every election. Hit the streets with public demonstrations. They're still helpful. Get on the phone, talk to your representatives, write letters, write emails. I know it sounds boring. Run for office if you can. Everybody from school boards and city councils up through state legislatures and to D.C. has to go as far left as you can imagine and then go further. Personal decisions about how you work, how you live, how you consume, how you get yourself transported around, those are still important. Do them because they're right. Do them because they make yourself feel better. But don't for a second think that that can save us from climate change and future pandemics. And of course, by climate change, I mean it runs the whole gamut. It means species extinction. It means extreme weather. It means sinking coastlines. The whole thing. Great regions that will be uninhabitable. And so far, at least in rich countries, we've been able to buy our way out of it. You can have air conditioning in Arizona. That's not guaranteed. What's going to happen when there are huge power outages, which are certain to happen? When there's migration to the one or two spots on the planet that might just, by sheer luck of geography, escape the worst results of climate change. We can't all move to Bangor, Maine and Duluth, Minnesota. So go left. If you want to live, if you want your children and grandchildren to live, you got to go left. And the good news is, we're not just going to live. We're not just going to survive. It's going to be a really much better world by every count. Okay. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.